You always can find a win, even if you've had a rough week. There is a win. And I used to joke with my clients, at where I used to work, I used to say, I will find your win. And they said, yeah, you did. You found the win. I think the actual role of a health coach, people misunderstand it. They don't understand what we do. They think we basically will tell them what to do. And that's not the job of a health coach. The job of a health coach is to partner with the person they're working with, to ask key questions, to see what it is that they're looking for. And we create a plan that's very personalized for each person, based on your individual needs.
Welcome to Unmute with Priya, the podcast where silence ends, voices rise, and women rediscover the freedom to speak and live authentically, especially in life after 40. This show is proudly sponsored by Project Icon. I'm your host, Priya Sudarsanam. Let's dive into today's conversation. On today's episode, we're talking about feeling your best in mind, body, and spirit in every stage of life. I'd like to introduce my guest today, Mary Tate, a board-certified health coach who integrates faith and wellness for women. Mary, welcome to the show. I am thrilled to have you with me today.
I am thrilled to be here, Priya. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to share.
Yeah, let's dive into your board-certified health coach. You focus on menopause, and I just love the idea of that integration of body, mind, and spirit. First off, before we talk about the work that you do, what brought you into this, into the coaching?
Yes, health coaching. I became a health coach in 2013 when my son, Matthew, was struggling with ADHD and sensory processing disorder. We, did a lot of things naturally. And then I realized we needed to kind of revamp his diet. So I actually took health coaching classes to help him. And that was my reason for becoming a health coach. And then after that, I realized that there are so many people out there, children, parents of children with special needs struggling. And so then I started to integrate into that and try to help families that way with the knowledge that I was blessed to receive. So that's how I actually got into health coaching back in 2013.
And if you don't mind me asking, what were you doing prior to being a health coach?
I was a stay-at-home mom. So my children, I got married in 1996. My first son was born in 1998. So I was a stay-at-home mom. Before that, I had a degree in fashion marketing. I worked in retail, worked in retail banking. So that was kind of my pre-health coaching days.
Amazing. And did you ever think, oh, hey, I'm going to be a health coach back
No.
10 years ago or even 20 years ago?
Yeah, no, not when my kids were I had struggled with being overweight when I was in high school. I was 60 pounds overweight. It was not something that was ever, in my thought process that I was going to get into, health and wellness. So yeah, I mean, I just really think that the Lord blessed me with just this new opportunity to help more people. And it's just evolved since, my child is, a young adult now. So now, and I've been through menopause. So now it's kind of transitioned into the menopausal midlife women.
Amazing. And there's so many health coaches out there today. You can go on Instagram, you can go on Facebook, and there's so many people who are in this place of service around coaching and health. But your approach stands out, and it stood out to me when I saw your profile. What specifically do you do, or do you believe you do, that sets your work apart from other people in the health and wellness space?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So yes, I do believe that my approach is a bit unique. I really believe in a biblical worldview of health. So I blend holistic, Christ-centered approach with practical tools like nutrition, exercise, essential oils, mindset renewal through a biblical lens to help my clients care for their body as the temple that it is. And I help women of faith dive deeper into their why for getting healthy. And we uncover their core values, as well as looking at that helps shape every decision that we make is our core values. And then we look at the behaviors that go along with those core values. And then we take that and we start with a 3-month plan. So I don't just kind of decide, oh, well, somebody wants to, lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds and go it that way. No, we dive deep, and then we create this 3 month plan that is always rooted in what my client wants.
That's amazing. That is definitely unique for sure. And I just want you to tell me more, tell the listeners more about this using the coaching from a biblical lens. So I'd love for you to share more about that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it all starts, with the fact that when we start with who we are in Christ. We talk about just creation itself, and how in Genesis, it really started in Genesis when we talk about food, because I am talking about nutrition, right, with these ladies. In Genesis 1:29, I'll read that verse to you. Then God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you, and to every animal of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life. I have given every green plant for food," and it was so. And so that to me, that means that food is meant to delight us, not control us. And I think that
Mm,
that is the the message that unfortunately we have been given most of our adult lives, right? Women, it's always meant to deprivation, diets. I have to give this up to get healthy, or whatever it would be. And so I use that as my base verse, and then we explore what that means, as far as for each woman who is unique.
that is beautiful. And that I will have to have you share that verse with me because I had goosebumps as you were reading that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing verse.
So when a client comes to you, what kind of issues or struggles are they usually coming to you with?
Oh goodness, I have people with either pre-diabetes or diabetes. I have dealt with women who have pre-diabetes, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high, like I said, high blood sugar. So that would be pre-diabetes. They want to lose weight, but they can't. They have PCOS. They're perimenopausal.
Mm,
They're menopausal. They're postmenopausal. I mean, there is such a wide variety of women that I help. And the thing is, all of those things that are, when we think about the biometrics and we think about the actual diagnosis of, say, someone who is pre-diabetes or diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol, those are warning signs. Those are like your check engine light. So we dive into the habits and the things that you're doing that we can kind of transform to help with that. And it's usually a nutrition based, exercise focused mindset renewal, because it's the difference also in a biblical worldview and a biblical lens is that we think we can do it ourselves, right? We have
mm.
this, I need willpower, I need motivation, and yet looking at it from the worldview, from a biblical lens, we look at, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And we can tap into that for our strength, for our motivation. And what is my motivation? To be the healthiest me so that I can do whatever the Lord is calling me to do. So there's a lot of pieces that we have to peel back those layers before we can actually get to, oh, let's look at what could be causing the blood sugar, raising of the blood sugar, or the higher cholesterol. Before we dive into like what causes that from like a nutritional standpoint, we have to look at the root. We build that foundation before we get into all the other things that I can help women with.
I love the idea of, calling on God or your faith and to support you in this because, being on this journey myself, I don't know how many years I just did it alone,
Yeah,
didn't realize that there was something divine out there to support me. So
absolutely.
yeah, that just feels like it would be so supportive on so many levels on that journey of coming back to your health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
alone. We can do this. We're not alone. I'm here. The Lord is here. We are here. I firmly believe that. I've seen it in the women that I've worked with, and it's just transformational when you don't feel like you're all alone in this journey.
Absolutely. So that being said, what are some of the problems that you see, as a health coach in the industry? What do you see some of the issues in the industry as far as misconceptions that keep people stuck.
Yes, the biggest misconception is that they have to do it all, or that they cannot control. They feel like, oh, if I don't do what this person says or that person says, we have a lot of influencers out there, right? There's a lot of
Right.
influencers out there. There's a lot of doctors out there. There's a lot of people speaking into women, and it gets so noisy that they're trying to do what this person says or what this person says, and I have to. Then it's too much, and then they can't do it all because, let's face it, as midlife women, we have a lot going on, whether it's the jobs that we're in, the families that we're taking care of. Sometimes we're called the sandwich generation, right? We have children still at home, teenagers, or we have parents that we're caring for, and then we're trying to care for ourselves. And listening to all of that, women can't do it, and they're like, okay, I'm done, I can't do all of this. And you don't have to. My role is to say, I am a partner with you. We're going to partner together, and I firmly believe that each woman knows her body better than anybody else, better than the doctor who she's seeing, better than, maybe the influencer that she's listening to. And what works for one person isn't going to work for another. We have to find what works for each individual woman. And
Right.
that's where I think women get struggled. They think they're doing so much good with listening to all these people, and there's too much noise, and then they don't know what to do, and then they give up, and they're like, I can't
And then
do
they
it.
give
And
out.
it's and rightfully so, because we're not meant to do all of that. So yeah, that's what I see.
And what do you believe is a misconception, or what we hear as women in midlife around menopause and just even that journey?
Oh,
There's because there's so
menopause.
much out there.
Right. Absolutely. There is so much out there. It is getting better. I will have to say it is getting better. We know that with research, we know strength training is imperative for women of any age. I grew up in the generation where you're exercising, it's all about cardio, burning calories, burning off what you eat. I recently, in the past probably 5 to 7 years, have realized it's the strength training that makes the difference.
Mm,
Because when I started going through menopause, I started realizing, what's going on here? I have a little bit of a thickening of a waist. What's happening here? I need to do my own research. And I did, and found out it's the strength training. And so that's where I believe many women struggle, because we didn't do it. We weren't taught
right.
it. So, and we have to learn to start from ground one and get, bigger and bigger and bigger as, go different ways of strength training. I'm also a certified personal trainer as well. So I help women with that as well.
So when a client comes to you, they really are getting wraparound services as far as body, mind, and
Yes.
spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Amazing.
I don't believe that we can just do one thing, and I think that's where women really struggle, is they're trying all these things, and my heart breaks because I know that they're trying, and yet there's just this missing piece, that it's like there might be one or two little tweaks, and it's not like we have to do all the things. We
Yeah.
just have to focus on what is important for that woman and how God made her and what he's calling her to do. And I will help them uncover that with his leading. And then we just take off. So, yeah.
Do you have any testimonies to share of a client success story, or somebody who's come to you from
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I used to work for a company where I had like a company of, I was employed as a health coach, and I had like 150 members. And we would work just like this. We'd work on the spiritual factor of incorporating the Lord, and then we'd work on the nutrition and the exercise. And many people would see their blood sugars drop, their cholesterol levels drop, them losing weight and getting more healthy, even spiritually, when they incorporated the different things that we talk about. There's different resources that I also biblical resources that I help women see as well, beyond what I have. I also have a podcast myself that my friend and I started, so we kind of have all the pieces to help women. And then I just recently had an amazing testimony from a woman who said, I didn't realize she was afraid to look at macros. She was doing
Mm,
calories, only calorie counting, and that was the old school. So I taught her this is what we look at. And I'm not a registered dietitian, so I don't say, okay, this is what you have to have at each thing and what's perfect for you, but we go based on we know that protein is so important for women. So we look at protein, we look at strength training and how we fuel our bodies from that standpoint. And then she was able to see, oh, I'm eating the same amount of quote calories, but I'm just changing things up. So I'm not eating as much fat or I'm not eating as many carbs, but there's nothing wrong with fat and carbs. And I think women are getting that message as well, that it's we have to do it this way and we can't eat that. And that's not
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. It just sounds so empowering
Yeah,
when you're
I love
when
what I do. I do love what I do, and I just want to help more women. That's really what I want is just to help more women.
well, that being said, what is the one quality, or I'm sure you have a ton of qualities and skills, but what is the one thing that you feel like you bring in to every client session or workshop? What would that be?
Yeah, I would say it's my compassion and my empathy. The Lord gave me that as my gifts, and I'm also an Enneagram 2, which is helper, right? So I
Okay.
have this. I want to help people. I have the compassion because I know where I was, and I have empathy because I know what they're going through, and so those are the things that I bring to my women. I never want my women to feel shame or feel like they can't come to me and say I goofed, I had a rough week. Okay, yeah, we all have a rough week, so let's dive into that. What happened and how can we change it to have a better week next week? What are your wins? Because I believe you can always find a win. You always
Yeah.
can find a win, even if you've had a rough week. There is a win. And I used to joke with my clients, at where I used to work, I used to say, I will find your win. And they said, yeah, you did. You found the win. So
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So, and have you faced any challenges in your business or just working as a health coach?
absolutely. And I think the actual role of a health coach has been people misunderstand it. They don't understand what we do. They don't. They think we basically will tell them what to do, and that's not the job of a health coach. The job of a health coach is to partner with the person they're working with to ask key questions to see what it is that they're looking for, and we create a plan that's very personalized for each person based on your individual needs.
Hmm.
And we have nutrition, as our background. We have backgrounds in nutrition. We have some of us have backgrounds in exercise. I'm a certified personal trainer. And so we have all that to pull from. But I never sit down with my lady and say, okay, you have to exercise 5 days a week for 30 minutes a day or walk 4 miles. I literally had a person tell me that's what their doctor told them. And she was so devastated that she knew she could not exercise 5 days a week and walk 4 miles a day. And she was devastated. And I said, that is not what I will tell you. So
Yeah.
we work together to find what works for you. And that's what we do. And that's
Amazing.
the biggest difference that I just don't think people understand what we do.
Yeah. I mean, when you're prescribed something and you think that this is the only thing that you can do or that this is the only way that
Right.
you can do it,
Yeah.
it's kind of what you said in the beginning. It leaves you paralyzed and then you just say, okay, I'm not going to do it. That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah. And that's what she was.
Yeah.
And she was
Yeah.
crying. And I said, no, 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 no. Well, let's back this up. Let's not saying that I understand where her doctor was coming from, but unfortunately that was not words that she needed to have spoken into her at that time. She needed a little bit more, tenderness and compassion and empathy. And really understanding where this woman was in her life. She's works full time. She has 4 kids. It's we have to find what works for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you did say that you got certified as a health coach in 2013. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what would you say to that Mary from 10 years prior or 20 years prior, now that you know what you
Yes.
know about the health journey?
Right. I had always thought that my health coaching business would be with families of kids with special needs, like helping parents with their kids. And although that is my passion and I can definitely do that, my business has gotten to the point where I see the Lord's hand in just moving it into the life stage that I'm in. So I was perimenopausal and menopausal and now postmenopausal, and I see how he shifts and how he works through our lives to benefit other people with the knowledge that he's given me. So just really going with the flow and seeing that it's ever changing, just like technology is ever changing, right? And there's so
Right.
many things that are ever in research. You have to stay up with the research and really dive into that because it's ever changing, especially from this is a wonderful time for women who are menopausal to have perimenopause, menopause, postmenopausal. This is a great time so that we can share with them the truths instead of all the fear and all the things that were from before.
Absolutely. And you're bringing up something that I always bring up with clients is awareness, and being very conscious that we do have these stages. Nothing is a straight line. We have stages, and it's okay to move through them. And then with your unique uh, skill of bringing faith into this, use tapping into
Yep,
God
absolutely.
or our own faiths to help us move along and move through these stages can help it not be so jarring, because it can definitely be a
Absolutely.
traumatic time, I think, for
Absolutely,
women.
absolutely, it can be, and I think that's the good thing. I think that's come out of the different social media things is there is more people talking more about menopause than ever before. But I also think we need to be wise in who we are listening to and see the certifications that they have. I have a certification. I'm a menopause specialist. I received that. And the latest research and all of that. So there's also that we have to have continuing education, being board certified. I have to continue to educate myself so that I can remain board certified. And we have stipulations for that. I'm just not someone selling a product or
Yeah.
selling my coaching. I have research that I have to do as well to keep my board certification, just like a doctor or, a registered dietitian or anyone like that.
And what would you say to a woman who's listening to this episode and is questioning everything, and things are shifting, hormones, identities, priorities? What's one thing that you feel like you could say to that woman listening about this transformation?
Yes, I think the one thing I would say would be listen to your body, listen to the symptoms that you're having. Um, yes, chat with your doctor. I always recommend that. But also really listen to what is happening with you, and then giving yourself grace because we can't do it all. And finding that one thing that they want to do. What is it that you want to focus on? And then diving into that piece, whether it would be, a different exercise that you want to change up, or you want to do some more nutrition, learn more about meal planning or whatever, or is it your faith that you need to dive into more and leaning into the Lord and he's going to guide you? Whatever it is, just know that you have to listen and you have to get quiet, for the Holy Spirit to talk to you. So you need to be in quiet too, so you can listen to yourself
I
and the
love
Holy
that.
Spirit.
In my journey of menopause, it's been a total experience of body, mind, and spirit, and forming, at 50, forming a relationship with God, even though for years I
Yeah,
rejected it. And so I love that you say that, forming that relationship with the Holy Spirit. I just, because it
absolutely.
resonates. It wouldn't have resonated with me 10 or 15 years ago, but
Right.
in
And I
this
think we
place,
all
it's
have that
like,
journey, right? I think the Lord
yeah,
knows when we're ready. He knows
yeah.
when we're open and he's prodding our hearts and he wants people to come to him because we are his creation and he loves us and he just wants us to be with him and just know that he's there to lead and guide
Right.
us. So I firmly believe that.
Yeah, and I also love that you saying having grace for ourselves. I think as women, we can definitely be very harsh with ourselves
Right.
and very
Absolutely.
critical, sit in regret, shame, and be in this cycle.
Absolutely.
And
Yes. And I
to
see
give,
that, I lead a ministry at our church, a health and wellness ministry at our church. And I see that. I see just that. "Ugh, I don't know what to do, or I feel like I should have done this better." And, it's like, we have to give ourselves grace. And I have to, I'm talking to the choir. I'm the same way. So I think
yeah.
we all can benefit from that.
And then speaking of your ministry, that you're sharing something like what's happening behind the scenes of your coaching practice. What else are you doing there to
Yes.
support
Yes.
women?
Yes, during the summer, I we had a Bible study, and so with our women's ministry, and it talked a lot about exercise. That we were going through a devotional book, and yet I felt led to speak into the women for the nutrition side of things, and so I spoke with my women's ministry director, and she said yes. So we started that, and we had like 90 women come into these events. And it was
Wow.
amazing. And so then at the end of the summer, we didn't want them to just kind of be left there with nothing. So we started this, it's called Living Vessels Wellness Ministry. And that is what I partner with another gal, and she and I, work together. She kind of leads the fitness end as far as like scheduling people. I also do teach classes there. And then I'm leading events twice a month at our church. So we start back up in January. We just had our last one this Monday. And it was all about, healthy holiday eating and recipes and different substitutions, and yet enjoying Thanksgiving foods and Christmas, and not saying I can't have that, and saying yes, I can have that, and just enjoying the foods that God has given us. And then, so we have that. I also have a new podcast that I just started with my dear friend Felicia. It's called The Gilded Branch. And I can
The
send
Gilded
you,
Branch.
the Gilded Branch. It's really
Yeah.
taking both of our businesses and blending it together. So the Lord has been very gracious to us in that, and we thoroughly enjoy that. So I'm
Oh,
praying it can reach
amazing.
more women.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the links to all of your website and
Yes,
how people can contact you in the show notes.
that would be
So that
great.
being said, how can a client, how can a woman who's hearing this who really resonates with your message reach out
Yes.
to you? How can they find out more?
Yes, absolutely. The best thing is through my website. It is treeoflifehealthwellness.com. And there you can book a free discovery call. We will jump on a free call and we'll dive in and see how I can best help you and support you. It's very personalized. So that's why I want to do a free discovery call. I want women to see how I can help them and just give that for free so that they can see how we work together.